Looking forward to practice today. Hopefully it'll be improved. Always open for that. We gotta make some improvements, that's for sure. After watching last week, we made plenty of errors.
Well, I'll start off with this. I guess if anyone who watches college football, including the players, they must know that on any given Saturday, one team can beat another team. Just this past weekend, Montana over Washington, Tennessee State over Vanderbilt, and Jacksonville State over Florida State. So you take a team like UConn, who's going through their own internal challenges, I guess, with a 0-2 record. Is there anything specific that you say or do to ensure that your players don't lose focus or even take the Huskies lightly?
We never try to concern ourselves with how the opponent is playing, but how we're playing. I can assure you this, that we didn't beat any of the players we got in our program. We didn't beat UConn on any of them. And there's guys playing for UConn right now that we recruited that they went to UConn instead of coming here. I mean, I'm not delusional in thinking that that we're more talented than they are. I don't believe that's a fact. I think they got talented players. They've got big players, and I'm impressed with them physically. And you know, they haven't put it together yet this year. And I hope they won't, play their very best game against us, because, they're going to give us a lot of trouble. And, we're going to have to play our very best. I feel like if we're going to have a chance to beat them, I feel like that every week. I know who we are. And I don't think that our guys can just, roll out there on Saturday morning and be ready for a game and go play. We got to play with great precision, great effort, and as close to perfect on our assignments as possible if we're going to give ourselves a chance. UConn, Western Kentucky, Georgia State, doesn't matter who it is. And so this is a team that we've faced them twice since I've been the coach here, and both of them were very close games. We had to secure an onside kick to put the game away in 2014, and we didn't do it. They drove right down there. They were getting ready to score. Unfortunately, we got an interception to seal the game. But I mean, it was a really close game. And the next year we went up there and played at Connecticut, and they beat us. And we were playing from behind the whole day. And it's not like they've got all of a sudden different players. They had talented players then. I think they've got talented players now, and they've got a good coaching staff. So they've got some experience playing against this offense. It's the first time they've seen this offense as a coaching staff. And there's players on the team that were there 2 years ago when they played against Navy and got to face the offense. So there's not going to be any surprises for them. It's going to take a great effort. And for our players, I try not to focus at all on the opponent, because we can't control the opponent. We can only control our own team, our own attitude and effort, and our preparation. And so we try to focus on that. But I'm very frank with our players about opposing teams and opposing players. And I try to keep them humbled as to who we are. We're a team that's got to execute very well, try to be a good football team and play well together. But we're not ever going to be in a position where the other team is not probably going to be as talented or more talented than us.
Great. My final question is, again, just 2 days away from you guys hosting UConn. Without going player by player, are you comfortable with where you are from a team perspective as it relates to injuries?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Hey, Jeff, Bob Joyce from UConn Sports Network. I know you've mentioned this week there's a lot you still have to work on, but what sort of improvements do you feel your team made from week 1 to week 2?
Well, we didn't have to punt. I was glad about that. I mean, we missed more tackles than the week before. We turned the ball over on Saturday. We didn't do that the week before. We blocked a punt. That was a big play. It set up a score for us. I think there were individual guys that played better than they did the week before. I was really pleased with the play of our quarterback. I thought he handled the game very well, and his first start of the year took care of the ball. He made some mistakes, but for the most part, I thought he played pretty well. So I mean, there were some good things, just not enough yet to make me feel like we've arrived or anything like that. We've still got a long way to go. We're making mental errors and physically just being able to sustain blocks, shed blocks. They did a really good job pass protecting against us last week. So there's a whole laundry list of things, including me doing a better job coaching our team.
I ask you about Andre Carter, 4.5 sacks so far. I mean, this guy's 6'7", 260, length, speed. That's got to be something you probably haven't had in your days at Army West Point, a guy that big on the edge.
I don't know if he's 6'7". He's pretty tall, but I'm not sure he's quite 6'7". The basketball coach might be over trying to steal him, but he's tall. He's over 6'5". And he is very athletic for a guy that big. I've just been so pleased with how he's developed. 2 years ago, he's on the scout team, and he's making plays on the scout team and batting balls down, and just really saw that he was going to be a special player, and he's developing. I think his best football is still ahead of him, and he just keeps getting better. He loves football. He spends a lot of time up here with our coaches. He's always asking questions. We have Zoom presentations that we send those guys to look at on their own, and he's always firing questions back. Comes in the next day into the position meetings with questions based on those, and that just tells you he cares a lot about football. He's a talented guy, and I think the combination of those things are going to just help him improve.
Any other questions for Coach?
Jeff, was he a wide receiver? Was Andre a wide receiver in high school, and how did you end up kind of discovering him, or finding him, so to speak?
No, he played both ways, but he wasn't a wide receiver that I remember. We didn't watch a bunch of wide receiver highlights on him. We watched defensive highlights, and we knew that's where we wanted him to play. He was a long, lanky senior in high school. Missouri City, Texas, not a highly recruited kid. And as it goes with the academy prospects, we try to just rustle through the bushes and turn over every rock and find every possible guy anywhere in the country that has a chance to play at this level, has the academic credentials to get into school, and we think has the desire to take this on. And he was one of those guys. And like a lot of our football players, I think he's a really good football player. I think Nolan Cockrell's a really good football player. Eric Smith's a really good football player. Malcolm Morrison's a really good football player. Marquell Broughton, those are all guys on the defensive side. I'm not saying they're overly talented. And there's some talented guys in that group, but they're good football players. And so, we just worked really hard at recruiting Andre. Once we discovered him and talked to his high school coach, and just worked out. So we're very fortunate to have him here. I think he's an outstanding player. And if he continues to develop like he has and continues to improve at the rate that he has, then I think he's got a chance to play football beyond college. I think he's that good of a player.
And Coach Ken Kreitzer, Sons of American Legion Radio, good afternoon. Just ask about what you worked on with the defense this week. A lot of yards given up on pass plays Saturday and completions. What did you emphasize with the defense this week?
Oh, number one, just be in position where we need to be on pass rush. And it's hard. When there's 5 offensive linemen, that equates to 6 defensive gaps. So unless you rush 6 guys every time, that you're not going to have every gap. So you got to maintain some presence in front of the quarterback and flanking the quarterback to try to discourage him from being able to scramble and still get a pass rush that forces him to throw it on time and hopefully earlier than he wants to throw it. But if you rush 6 guys and they empty the backfield, you're playing one-on-one coverage across the board. I'm not sure that's a great scenario for us either, is playing man-to-man all the time. So it's figuring out, when we need to send a rush and commit more guys to the rush, and when we need to put more guys on the back end and play coverage. And when we do play coverage, whether it's man-to-man or it's zone coverage, we can't turn guys scot-free. And that happened a couple of times on Saturday, which is really disappointing. It wasn't a play action pass where we got sucked up there on the run and guys had their eyes in the backfield. He just going to drop back and throw the ball, and guys are running routes. And we either didn't communicate correctly or we had a guy bust an assignment and turn a guy loose. We got to fix that. So we've been working at that. It's hard enough to win. It's hard enough to stop an offense. But when you play the wrong coverage or miscommunicate or make an assignment bust, it only takes one guy. There's 11 guys out there. One guy makes a mistake and it's a 73-yard touchdown. We shouldn't make it easy on the other team. And I know it frustrates our players. Nobody feels worse about it than the player that commits the error. But it's our job as coaches to make sure that we've got them in position and simplify it enough that they don't make those mistakes. So really just obviously working on that part of it. That was a good team we played on Saturday. They had a really good offensive line. They were very stout, did a great job in their protections. And I think that quarterback's a special player. He can throw it. He throws the long ball well, touch pass. He can throw it on the run. We saw him move and throw it on the run, throw it across his body, throw it going to the left and open it up and being able to deliver. He's an excellent football player. So we were fortunate to get out of there with a victory, and hopefully we'll just improve on those things where we made mistakes or didn't play as well as we maybe are capable of last Saturday, and improve on that this Saturday. And if we don't, we're going to have a tough time stopping UConn.
Coach, just ask you if on 2 players, if Tyson Riley and Tyree Tyler should be ready to play on Saturday, and also just if you think you may use multiple quarterbacks Saturday.
We'll just see how it goes. Tyre Tyler is a starting quarterback in his own right. He came on late in the year last year and kind of earned that spot. He earned it going into the season, and obviously got hurt against Georgia State. Fortunately, it wasn't so bad that it's held him out very long. But I've said all along, I think we've got a good quarterback room, and I would trust any one of those 6 guys that we've got in that room to be our quarterback. It's not often we've been able to say that, but really I do feel that strongly about each one of those guys individually and the preparation that they've gotten to prepare them. So we'll just see how the game goes. Having Riley in there with the rest of those 4 guys with experience, I think that's a strength for us to be able to roll multiple running backs in that play that position, because that's such a key spot for us, for those guys to be able to run the ball in the interior. And the more guys we've got, I think the stronger we are as an offense.
Thanks, Coach.
Jeff, Your thoughts on Brahim Murphy, and can you give us your feeling about him, breaking open so free for that touchdown last week?
He's turned into being a really good player. He's worked really, really hard to become a good player at that position. He was a high school quarterback down in Charlotte, and just had a really good career. Was an excellent athlete. Jay Bateman recruited him, and so just it's amazing that here Jay's been gone now 3 years, but him, those relationships he had with that high school coach and the impact that's made. I think Brahim's a really good player, and that particular play, it was a boot play. So obviously the success we have running the football with those running backs there and hammering that thing up in there between the tackles and the actions of slot backs going in motion and getting the ball on the perimeter, that allows us to at times to open up play action passes, and that's what it was. And if people are going to stop the run, then they've got to commit enough people to the run to make that happen. It's the same scenario that we had on defense. Do you rush a bunch of guys, or do you drop a bunch of guys back in protection? If you're playing against us, do you commit a lot of guys to the run, or do you keep guys back there just in case there's a play action pass, and that you don't give up a long ball? It's difficult, and playing defense is not easy. And it was just one of those scenarios where there was play action, and they were playing the run. That's obviously what we do more than anything else, is run the football. And he got behind him, and it was a really good job of Christian finding him. He delivered a really good pass, and Brahim just was able to look it all the way in and cross the goal line. So it's the second week in a row he's been able to get behind the defense. And again, they're both scenarios were situations where the defense was really committed to stopping the run. And the more success we have running the football, I think that allows us more opportunities to hit those passes.
Jeff, we talked to Brahim last night, and one of the things he was that I addressed with him was about the blocks downfield. I know you were a little bit concerned about it after the Georgia State game, but did they do better last week? And just tell us about the importance of getting those blocks downfield.
They did, and there's a couple of times in the game on Saturday, the one run to the side away from our bench, it set up a score. T-Rob took that thing on a pitch play, and Cade Ballard went out there and knocked the linebacker down. And I think it was Walters knocked the other guy down. There was another play where Tyrell Robinson was blocking himself. He went out and knocked the guy to the ground. Cade again knocked the linebacker down. Those perimeter blocks and getting those guys off their feet are so key. It opens up the lanes. They don't have to make people miss. If we get a perimeter block with the wide receiver, which is ultra important, then really it's the backside safety that we're running away from there. And so we placed a big emphasis after the Georgia State game in practice of making sure that we tried on every attempt possible to cut block on the perimeter and get people on the ground, just so that we could work that skill. It's the only day of the week where we really have a chance to do that, other than the Saturdays during the game. So we practice in full gear on Tuesdays, and it's live cut blocks and those kinds of things. So that made a difference in some of those big pitch plays last week that we didn't have in week one.
And then Jeff, just a follow up on the quarterback question. I know you've been telling us this for weeks, so I think we all understand. But what's your theory on the hot hand? You were very pleased with Christian after week one, and even more so last week. So what's your feeling about riding the hot hand?
Well, like I said, I think they're both starting quarterbacks. So whether Christian's in there or Tyre's in there, frankly, if it's Jamel or Jabari or Maurice or Cade, it wouldn't make any difference to me. I think those guys can handle the job. The more experience they get, the more the game slows down for them. And I think that's that's really the case for those two guys at the top, and maybe Christian more so than anybody. He's played more than anybody. So the game just slows down in terms of the reads and the checks and those kinds of things. So we're always going to play the guy that we think gives us the best chance, and that's that. But I don't know that there's a big difference between Tyson Riley and Cade Bernard and Jacoby and Anthony. I mean, any one of those guys in the game at B-back, doesn't make any difference to me. I think they're capable of running the ball. I think they're capable of making the blocks. There's some things each one of them does a little better in one area than another. And I think it's the same with the quarterbacks, but it manages to work. So we'll just see how it goes.
Thanks, Jeff.
We'll go one more for Coach. Do we have any others?
Yeah, I'll ask one more. Jeff, you've been there 8 years. It'd be our first trip since 2005 to West Point. It's a special place. I know your first job's the coach, but do you ever get a chance to stop for a minute and just soak in what is such a great atmosphere at Michie Stadium? Do you ever have that chance?
I mean, it is a great atmosphere. I think just the consciousness of the fact that we're at West Point, the history of this academy, the history of this football program, the coaches that have gone through this program, and to be able to join my name, and I'm sure for the rest of our staff, we're all coaches on this Army coaching staff, and the names and the history of the coaching staffs here, guys like just Red Blake, starting with him and all of his assistants, Vince Lombardi and Paul Dietzel, guys like Parcells have coached here, and oh geez, who else has gone through here? I think John Makovic might have been here at one point. I mean, it's incredible the history of our program. So we're very fortunate. I feel incredibly fortunate to be here and to be a part of this program and to be a part of this academy, to be in a leadership position at the premier leadership school in the world. So, I mean, from that standpoint, I'm very conscious of my responsibility, the responsibility that I have to be an example to our players and to our cadets and to the rest of the world that watches us, to the Army that we represent, to be a positive leader, to be a positive influence on our players, and to help them grow as leaders, to prepare them for their opportunities to lead and to serve. So from that standpoint, I consider it a great honor and privilege, but to kind of stop and smell the roses along the way, I'm not much for that. I got a job to do. I got a lot of people here counting on me to do my job and do it well. And I don't want to let them down. So, maybe someday, a long time from now, when I'm not the coach here anymore, maybe I can appreciate the times I had here. But, I want to do a great job for this program, for these players. They have one opportunity to play college football, and I want it to be the best experience they've ever had in sports. So for me to bask in the wow factor of West Point and Michie Stadium and all that, I'm not doing my job if I'm paying attention to that stuff. But with that said, it is a tremendous atmosphere and a great place to watch college football, to play college football, and to coach college football.
Hey, Jeff, your thoughts on Jim Young?
What a great coach. What brings you to ask about Jim Young?
Well, you pulled into a tie for most career wins in Army with him.
Oh, I didn't know. So Jim Young's a great coach. What he did here was incredible. Here's what I appreciate about Jim Young. He was a very successful coach at Purdue. He comes to West Point. He brings his offense with him. He runs his offense and realizes that the personnel that he has here at Army and the recruiting pool that he has to select from isn't a fit for his offense. And so he completely changes his offense, an offense that he's never coached, an offense that the players here weren't recruited to play in. And the next year he wins enough games to go to a bowl game. And then he continues that success to go to more bowl games than any coach before him in school history, to becoming one of the winningest coaches in program history. He's a tremendous football coach. And Coach Young still keeps in touch with me. He's an amazing guy. He's in his 80s, but still very sharp and still very into football, watches football. But he was a deep thinker, and he documented all the things that he was doing along the way and kept notes on the progress of the program. And he sent me many of those notes that he took, and it's amazing to see the detail. And so I really admire him as a coach, and I didn't know that I was tied with him, but I will tell you this: he's an outstanding coach. And I hope that our team and I can be a part of a team that'll win more games than the one where we're at right now. But that has far less to do with me than it does our team. And what Jim Young did here, and the master football coach that he is, wins aside, he's a great coach and one I'll always look up to.